From a small office in far north Queensland, Alex Price-Bush provides financial counselling to First Nations people. Retrieving their retirement savings can sometimes take years.
It's unfortunately incredibly common that a lot of First Nations people aren't able to access their super.
And no matter how hard he tries, some miss out.
For clients who don't necessarily fit the mould of how the current system is, some people just give up and go without, essentially, so it's quite sad.
Those failures are highlighted in a new report by Mob Strong Debt Help and Super Consumers Australia, which says people living in rural and remote areas are particularly affected by rigid systems and discriminatory policies.
We're seeing a very inflexible and disengaging service from a lot of super funds.
Not having a process in place to use alternative forms of identification, for example, or having phone lines and different customer service supports that are in quite complex language, in languages that may not be the first language for many First Nations people as well. These all create a kind of layering of barriers that stop people from being able to access that money.
Just 69% of First Nations people have superannuation, compared to 87% of other Australians. They have a median balance of $22,000, which is just over a third of what other Australians hold. The research found only a quarter of respondents had access to a MyGov or email account, while just 59% used the internet.
We had one client who could not provide his ID, had no internet, phone, no utility bills to be able to prove who he was, and yet the super fund was still insistent on him just going online and just doing everything through that process.
In a statement, Chief Policy and Advocacy Officer of the super industry, James Covell, acknowledged the sector is deeply aware that for too long it has not met the needs of First Nations Australians. It has taken important steps, but more must be done. It comes 7 years after the Banking Royal Commission, which found the same systemic issues. Mark Holden from Mob Strong Debt Help says change is needed immediately.
That money can still be used as a form of intergenerational wealth generation for the communities that can go towards the community to help try to help develop them and help support them. But if those barriers in place there completely deny the community that ability to prosper.
Earlier this year, the government introduced new standards for superannuation funds, including the need for clear, respectful and accessible communication with members. The Assistant Treasurer and Minister for Financial Services said once the standards have been implemented, they'll consider whether further reforms are needed to improve services for First Nations people.
I think there needs to be a review of what's going on. So putting accountability back on the super funds through mandatory customer service standards will go a long way in making sure they actually have to help their customers access their money rather than putting up barriers.
Barriers that are taking years to break.